Get ready. China has started the final stages of its plan while the U.S. economy is crashing. Hi, and welcome to the Financial Argument Channel. China is a sleeping lion, Napoleon once warned. Let her sleep, for when she wakes, she will shake the world. I don't know if the lion that Napoleon was talking about woke up, but it is certain that the world economies are shaking, except for China's. I know it's too early to say that China won, but it's not too early to say who's losing now. We know that almost every country's economy, especially the U.S. economy, is experiencing a collapse and financial crisis unprecedented in history. But China seems to have pulled itself out of it, at least for now. The latest data shows us that the economies of all G20 countries experienced a massive slump in the second quarter, excluding China. China grew by 3.2% in the second quarter, while the UK shrank by 21.7%, the US by 9.1%, and the Eurozone by 15%. India, which has recently experienced border tension with China, and I think the tensions will continue rising, had the worst second quarter with an economy shrinking by 23.9%. There's more. Additional data indicates that China is the only country with a strengthening economy, while all the rest of the world's economies undergo a painful collapse. Since March 2020, China has exported 151.5 billion face masks, 1.4 billion protective suits, and 209,000 respirators to the rest of the world. While all this was happening, we were standing in modern breadlines, trying to get food from a dwindling supply at the food bank or trying to get toilet paper at Walmart, and millions of Americans were filing for unemployment at the Department of Labor. In addition, China's exports in August increased by 9.5% compared to August 2019, exceeding expectations. While recovery is still just a fantasy for many countries, especially the U.S., China is recovering and getting stronger. As reported by the Civil Aviation Administration of China, civil aviation flights reached 90% of pre-crisis levels with more than 13,000 daily flights. On top of that, at the recent China International Fair for Trade and Services in Beijing, the Civil Aviation Administration also announced that it had signed international aviation transportation agreements with 96 countries and regions within the scope of the Belt and Road Initiative. There is no doubt that China is building a fast and efficient air bridge for the Belt and Road Initiative to expand its passenger and freight services. Before going into details of the Chinese Belt and Road project, it's worth mentioning that while all this is happening, the U.S. aviation industry has been in a deep crisis since March 2020. As I detailed in my previous financial argument videos, although billions of dollars have been pumped into the industry, many giant U.S. airlines are seriously in debt and on the verge of bankruptcy. Unemployment in the U.S. airline industry has been rising, and now the jobs of more than 75,000 U.S. airline employees, even pilots, are at risk. With all employment sectors of our country collapsing, China's growing strength poses a risk to everyone. It's important to recognize this and tell the truth, but sadly, some of us refuse to see it. Of course, there are officials who are aware of China's growing strength and the threat it poses. President Trump made a statement about these developments at a press conference on Monday. Trump noted that the United States intends to halt its economic relations with China, threatening to penalize American companies creating overseas jobs and prohibit companies that do business with China from winning federal tenders. President Trump said he wants to end U.S. reliance on China and see Made in the USA rather than Made in China on goods produced by American companies. Therefore, he wants American companies to move their Chinese factories to the United States. But I think that seems unlikely to happen. The reason why some of the products we buy today are so cheap is that they are made in China. American industry is unlikely to be able to manufacture goods at the same low prices. American companies in China have shown that they do not take this situation too seriously. According to a survey by the American Chamber of Commerce, in Shanghai, 92% of the respondents said they would stay in China. We had a week full of political speeches vowing a tougher stance on China, and it's obvious that the tension and pressure will increase as we get closer to the elections. But the main question is, will markets, which are already collapsing, be able to handle this heavy pressure? It's worth remembering that this struggle for domination between the US and China has a technological and military side as well as an economic side. A report presented to the US Congress by the US Department of Defense and published in early September includes China's military development, providing important data for us as the competition between the two countries is sharpening. I reviewed the report in detail. I won't talk much about military issues because I focus on economics here at the Financial Argument channel. However, the report emphasized that China's advantages outweigh the US in certain military fields. The report also indicated that China was likely to focus on using its navy to protect its global interests, as well as using naval capacity to prevent US operations around the world. Already this week, news released by China proves the accuracy of the report. For the first time in its history, China conducted a drill with 2 aircraft carriers. This Chinese military exercise is read as a show of strength to the USA and demonstrating Chinese technological skills and achievements. They also sent a message with that practice exercise using real equipment in many border regions. Unlike the Soviet Union, China has tried to downplay its potential as a military threat, focusing especially on the fields of economy and technology. But now they have raised the stakes. Huawei and 5G are other issues that have raised concern recently. Considering the sensitivity of the US, we can see how important these issues are. China has drawn global attention with its growing economy and industry over the last 30 years, and its production capacity has significantly reduced inflation in the world economies. However, there are big problems awaiting China, one of which is the potential for demographic collapse. According to estimates, by 2030, the elderly population of China will exceed the young population, and each senior citizen will be supported by only 2 working-age adults by 2039. While couples have been encouraged to have children for the country, registrations for marriage have fallen every year since 2013. The divorce rate has increased annually since 2006, and average fertility rates continue to fall, hitting 1.7 in 2020. Anything below 2.1 indicates a declining population. On top of that, there are approximately 34 million more men than women in China, and currently 24 million single men of marrying age who are unlikely to ever marry or have children. According to the general belief, China controls 1.4 billion people by increasing their welfare. China's rise has been built on labor-intensive manufacturing and has very little in the way of a social safety net. If China doesn't invest in technology and R&D, this aging population will be in trouble. That's why China has pushed for technological development, and back in 2008, it was officially accused of technology theft. A special 301 report published by the American Department of Commerce states that China has copied or stolen patented American intellectual property. Joseph Nye, Richard Haas, and other experts who report on China have stated that China can no longer continue doing this and needs to develop its own patents. That's exactly why Xi Jinping came to power. Xi Jinping has embarked on continuous efforts and investments to develop Chinese industry and increase productivity. Huawei, Oppo, Vivo, and TikTok have all developed as a result. While Nokia and Ericsson dominated the mobile phone market before Xi, 51.3% of the mobile phones used in China in 2015 under Xi were of Chinese origin. This is, of course, thanks to quality improvement. Not only that, but 371 million mobile phones manufactured domestically were exported, and the majority of them were mobile phones produced by Chinese R&D. Xi Jinping did all this thanks to supply-side structural reforms, and this miracle was called the Chinese Dream. Apart from mobile phones, Huawei has embarked on an even more ambitious business, 5G. The money invested in the 5G project by the People's Republic of China has exceeded $180 billion. 5G offers significant economic opportunities beyond the internet and communication. Considering the emphasis placed on Industry 4.0 by the West and the point it has already reached, the process of smart manufacturing and creating new operating models will speed up thanks to 5G. If 5G is based in China, countries with American military assets and the security of many military operations, information, and intelligence data will be under threat. It's not difficult to predict how disastrous the result will be if the databases the NSA collected from Europe are transferred to a Chinese infrastructure. That's why the NSA has officially visited a lot of countries in Europe. As you can see, the USA is concerned not only about China's potential commercial gains, but also its potential loss of security information. Apparently, China believes that the time has come, taking advantage of the collapse of its rival America and the rest of the world's economies, and has started to put all its cards on the table. China will not hesitate to make its biggest moves in the uncertainty before the November elections. What will the next few months bring? It's best to prepare for a worst-case scenario. Thanks for watching and your support of the Financial Argument Channel.